Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about this book now. Oh, you guys.
What?
Okay, I guess I'll go in the other room then.
Yeah, that
You
would be
guys.
good.
Mom, my goodness.
Yeah.
I'm going in your room. I'm going in your room, Ropey. I love you too. Okay, well, I'm reading from a book I gave to her when she was like 11. She still has it. So that does impress me. Secrets of the Druids. Compiled and edited by John Mathews. And just a bit on the forward here. The collection you hold in your hand is drawn from 3 much larger volumes published between 1996 and 1999, which present a large-scale survey of the history and relations relating to the Druids of Northern Europe. As a practicing Druid, I prepare these in part for the use by others like myself who sought to discover as much as possible about the heritage of which we are a part, and to follow the winding and often tangled path of Druidry through the ages. And I love this book because it's obvious the man's read Robert Graves' The White Goddess, which I'm just reading right now, which is over the top stuff. Oh my God, there's so much. And you have to be really on the ball to get what he's saying. Okay. I'm going to start off with, we're still looking at the forward here. The element of wish fulfillment and the desire to live in the past that colored so much early work on the subject are largely absent from the more recent writings on the subject of those who see Druidry as a viable path in today's world. Although one has only to turn to the Druid Journal for 1930, where the following verse appears, to see that it has been wholly banished. Sorry, it says not wholly banished. Back on the past we must all go. There is one way for all within the great abyss, in which tomorrow, like today, must fall. Thus Druids turn to faith to Cathor Gal. It's interesting, my slip of tongue, too. And that was John Mathews, Oxford, 1995. Several pages of it. and right off the top here, going into the classical accounts. This is straight from the diaries of Julius Caesar, 10 to 44 BC. They, the Druids, preside over sacred things, have the charge of public and private sacrifices, and explain their religion. To them a great number of youths have recourse for the sake of acquiring instruction, and they are in great honour amongst them. For they generally settle all their disputes, both public and private, and if there are any transgression perpetuated, any murder committed, or any dispute about inheritance or boundaries, they decide in respect of them. They appoint rewards, and penalties, and if any private or public person abides not by their decree, they restrain them from the sacrifices. Ooh. Does that remind you of Vikings? This with them is the most severe punishment. Whoever are so interdicted are ranked in the number of the impious and wicked. All forsake them and shun their company and conversation, lest they should suffer disadvantage from contagion with them. Nor is legal right rendered to them when they sue it, nor any honor conferred upon them. But one presides over all these Druids, who possesses the supreme authority among them. At his death, if any of the other excels in dignity, the same succeeds him. But if several have equal pretensions, the president is elected by the votes of the Druid. Sometimes even they contend about the supreme dignity by force of arms. You know what that means. At a certain time of the year, they assemble in session upon a consecrated spot in the confines of the Carnus, which is considered the central region of the whole of Gaul. So that's kind of like central France. Hither all who have any disputes have come from every side and acquiesce in their judgments and decisions. The institution of Druids is thought to have originated in Britain, and to those who have hence introduced into Gaul, and even now who wish to become more accurately acquainted with it, generally repair thither for the sake of learning it. I love that word, thither. Okay, no, let's just read it. But, this is him talking about them as the way he thinks. The Druids usually abstain from war, nor do they pay taxes together with the others. They have exemption from warfare and the free use of all things. Instigated by such advantages, many resort to their school even of their own accord, whilst others are sent by their parents and relations. They are said to learn thoroughly a great number of verses. On that account, some continue at their education for 20 years. Very normal. Nor do they deem it lawful to commit these things to writing, although generally in other cases and in their private and public accounts they use Greek letters. I took a course 20 years ago on the Tuatha De Danann, and they too, when you're learning to be a bard, same 20 years. And everything is memory. Everything is memory. And all the spiritual nature of things as well as you go. They appear to me to have established this custom for two reasons: because they would not have their tenets published, and because they would not have those who learn them by trusting to letters neglect the exercise of memory, since it generally happens that owing to the safeguard of letters, they relax their diligence in learning as well as their memory. In particular, they wish to articulate this idea that souls do not die, but pass after death from one body to another. And they think that by this means men are very much instigated to the exercise of bravery, the fear of death being despised. I love that. They also dispute largely concerning the stars and their motion, the magnitude of the world and the earth, the nature of things, the force and power of the immortal gods, and instruct the youth in their principles. We're going to read the whole thing. The whole nation of the Gauls is very much given to religious observations, and on that account, those who are afflicted with grievous diseases and those who are engaged in battles and perils either immolate men as sacrifices or vow they will immolate themselves, and they deploy the Druids as ministers of those sacrifices, because they think that if the life of man is not given for the life of man, the immortal gods cannot be appeased, and they have also instituted public sacrifices of the same kind. Some have images of immense size, the limbs of which, interwoven with twigs, they fill with living men, and the same being set on fire, the men surrounded by the flames are put to death. And they are done so at their own choosing. Again, reminding you of early Vikings there. And I mean, obviously, they're, that religious and spiritual concept being passed down from one culture to the other. Blood for blood. To all those patriarchal origins of religions, blood for blood. Because men, no offense to any man, but because men don't bleed, they have a different concept of what that means. Because the woman gives blood without pain, it seems like that's not a sacrifice, but it is the blood of life. Whereas the blood that the men give is really blood of death, seems to me. I just have a abhorrent attitude towards human sacrifice, because I know that what they say, Jesus died for us, for our sins, and his blood is all that's necessary, blah, blah, blah. But the blood of the womb is the blood of life that should, in my opinion, be offered. And I don't feel it's right to give to create death, to give it to bring life. I don't know if that's true. Anyway, moving right along. They think that the punishment of those who are caught in theft or pillage or in any other wicked act is more acceptable to the immortal gods, but when there's a deficiency of such evil doers, they have recourse even to the punishment of the innocent. They chiefly worship the god Mercury, which actually to them is Loki. Of him they have many things. They consider him as an inventor of all arts, as the guide of ways and journeys, and as possessing the greatest powers of obtaining money and merchandise. Definitely Mercury, Loki, communications all around. After him, they worship Apollo, Mars, Jupiter, and Minerva, and these are this is the Druids, not the Vikings. Okay. Concerning them, that they have almost the same opinion as other nations, namely that Apollo wards off diseases, that Minerva instructs them to the principles of works and arts, that Jupiter holds the empire of heaven, that Mars rules wars. To him, when they have determined to engage in battle, they generally vow these things which they shall have captured in war. When they are victorious, they sacrifice the captured animals and pile up the other things in one place. The Gauls declare that they have all sprung from their father Pluto, and this they say was delivered to them by the Druids. Okay, it was translated by J. Williams ab Ethel, and it was copied by De Bello Galicio, volume 1, 13 to 18, and we don't have a date on that. Okay, so there's quite a few things in here, but this is this is the last part of this first section here. The Druids in early Ireland, and Cormac's Druids. It was ordained that in Cormac's time that every high king of Ireland should keep 10 officers in constant attendance on him, who did not separate from him as a rule, namely a prince, a behan, a druid, a physician, a bard, a sencha, a musician, and 3 stewards, the prince to be a body attendant on the king, the brehan to explain the customs and laws of the country in the king's presence, a druid to offer sacrifices and to forebode good or evil on the country by means of his skill in magic, a physician to heal the king and his queen and the rest of the household, a fillet to compose satire or panegyric for each one according to his good or evil deeds, a sencha to preserve the genealogies, the history, and the translations of the nobles from age to age, a musician to play music and to chant poems and songs in the presence of the king, and 3 stewards with their company of attendants and cupbearers to wait on the king and attend his wants. This custom was kept from the time of Cormac to the death of Brian, son of Sinidid. My pronunciation's probably terrible. Without change, except that since the kings of Ireland received the faith of Christ, an ecclesiastical chaplain took the place of the Druid to declare and explain the precepts and the laws of God to the king and to his household. Thus does the sencha set forth the matter just stated, and this is a poem. We don't have a year on this, but it must have happened at that time. There are 10 round the king, without rivalry, without anxiety. I can name them all, both prince and official. There are appointed to attend on gracious kings a brehan, a file, and a prince. A king who has not the 3 named, his honour price is not sanctioned by Fenian law. A chaplain to expound the Gospels, a sencha who sets right every mishap, a musician skilled in harp strings also, for those fine and honour priced are appointed. The fourth person is a physician to look at each one's disease. 3 stewards to serve famous companies, and I shall record for the hosts of Aaron. A king who shall not have all these has no right to be in the rhyme Rio Grudhe. In the house of Tara shall not pass his time, a king not having the 10. And thus embarks a whole series of works on the Irish Druids, which we'll come back to. We'll get back to.